Whiteness is the most violent fucking system to ever breathe.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now. This is cancer. This is so much cancer that I can feel the tumors growing on my back.
While the left has been pulling its hair out over Trump's nomination of Kavanaugh, some news about his lower circuit nominees have gone by the wayside. Last week there was some bipartisan agreement, in fact, on one of Trump's nominees, and like most bipartisan agreement, it was a terrible decision. Trump's Ninth Circuit nominee tanks as Scott Rubio joined with Democrats to oppose him. The nomination of Ryan Bounds for the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals was withdrawn Thursday in a dramatic last-minute reversal after two Republican lawmakers joined with Democrats to block his confirmation on the Senate floor. Tim Scott withheld his support for Bounds during Thursday's vote, citing racially tinged opinion columns Bounds wrote as a college student at Stanford University. Marco Rubio joined Scott, putting Bounds' nomination on track to fail 49-48. So it seems that Ryan Bounds has a little bit of racism in his past, or at least that's what the Alliance for Justice, a progressive advocacy group that promoted these articles, wanted you to believe. So let's look at the AFJ's complaints, and we'll kind of take them on and see if what Scott and Rubio did was wise or not. The first set of criticisms was that Bounds wrote critically about strident racial factions in the student body and their work to build tolerance and promote diversity. He went on to claim that the efforts of these students seems always to contribute more to restricting consciousness, aggravating intolerance, and pigeonholing cultural identities than many a Nazi book burning. Bounds wrote that race-focused groups should not continue on campus, claiming that the existence of ethnic organizations is no inevitable prerequisite to maintaining a diverse community. White students, after all, seem to be doing all right without an Aryan student union. Why would you be opposed to racial communities associating to promote diversity, right? It could never backfire, say, against white professors at Evergreen State College. No campus for professors opposed to anti-white racism. For voicing this opinion and being white himself, Weinstein was branded a racist and hounded by campus agitators who demanded his termination. On Thursday, the biology professor had to conduct his class off campus due to police telling him it wasn't safe for the mild academic to appear at his place of work. Well, okay, so that could just be that Brett Weinstein was in fact a racist, right? He showed up to campus on a day where whites weren't allowed. But as racist as that might seem, it couldn't be part of a grander anti-white sentiment on campus.
Black power! Black power! Black power! Black power! Black power! Black power!
Whiteness is the most violent fucking system to ever breathe.
Ho ho! These racist teachers have got to go! Hey hey! Ho ho! These racist teachers have got to go!
Yeah, that doesn't look good. And in fact, Evergreen State College students resurrect No Whites Allowed Day of Absence. Students have created a new 3-day version of the event for 2018, which will include events on and off campus. So, not only are Bounds' claims that these racial groups aren't a prerequisite to maintaining a diverse community, it seems like it does quite the opposite, segregating people. But you know, that was only one of the AFJ's problems with Bounds' writings. So let's maybe move on to the next one. Bounds complained about multicultural organizations at the university who divide up by race for their feel-good ethnic hoedowns. Now that's just no one's dividing people up for race for their hoedowns or anything, right? I mean, that's silly. There would never be a segregated celebration on campus, right? Oh, Harvard University will hold first ever black-only graduation ceremony? That would kind of be a racially segregated celebration, wouldn't it? So that's 3 problems the AFJ had, and 3 Bounds was 100% correct on. Well, alright. Maybe that's just a fluke. I'm sure there's something racist in these writings somewhere, right? Something unfounded. Let's move on to 2 more of them. Using racist and offensive language, Bounds claimed that there were communities on campus who believe that the opponent is the white male and his coterie of mean-spirited lackeys, Oreos, Twinkies, coconuts, and the like. Similarly, Bounds accused campus race thinkers of denigrating African Americans as Oreos, Uncle Toms, or sellouts if they rejected victimhood status. Yeah, we all know that this is exactly how the leftist racial thinkers behave. If you don't buy into the victimhood narrative, you are a race traitor, and therefore you are open to all of the ethnic slurs that they feel you deserve.
They'll come up to you and just yell and scream.
You are Uncle Tom, and that's why we can't fucking
Like you're nobody. We hate you. You're racist, you're misogynist, homophobic. Supposedly, I'm a racist. Wow, that's crazy.
So, okay, so now that's 5 criticisms that the AFJ leveled against Bounds that were actually 100% accurate. So let's keep moving here. I'm sure there's something here that is just a deal breaker, right? Well, the next claim, Bounds decried sensitivity towards racial minorities and the LGBTQ community and activism by those communities as a pestilence that stalks us and threatens to corrupt our scholastic experience. Now, this is obviously overstatement. How could sensitivity towards traditionally oppressed groups be a pestilence on scholastic experience? Well, there is the University of Minnesota requiring students and professors to use preferred pronouns, or they get in, or they face academic discipline. Now, okay, this might cause a chilling effect. Professors may be a little worried about engaging with students lest they face backlash for it. Maybe you're sitting in the library, you're less likely to ask the guy next to you, guy or girl, excuse me, next to you about a question you have because, you misgender them and all of a sudden you're talking to some diversity leader or some other person tasked with enforcing the speech codes, right? But this wouldn't actually get in the way of learning about specific subjects, right? This wouldn't say undermine your understanding of biology, maybe.
Basically, it's not correct that there is such a thing as biological sex, and I'm a historian of medicine. I can unpack that for you at great length if you want, but in the interest of time, I won't. So that's a very popular misconception. So essentially, when in my transgender studies classes, what we're doing is looking at actual research and identifying ways that current social issues related to trans people or things that are associated with trans, such as free speech arguments and claims, how that connects to the way that people are thinking, the way that research has been framed, the histories.
Give us some of the other.
Yeah, you heard him. There's no such thing as biological sex. And not only that, is he's working to change the way we look at this. So not only is there no such thing as biological sex, but science has had it all wrong this whole time. XX and XY chromosomes, nothing to do with sex. So anyone seeing how that could be a problem for a student who's trying to be a biologist? Bounds seems to have had a point here. Here's one for rape accusations, right? No one likes rape. Bounds wrote condescendingly and dismissively about sexual assault on campus and argued that to identify and punish alleged perpetrators, the university should maintain the ironclad beyond a reasonable doubt standard used by law enforcement. He wrote, expelling students is probably not going to contribute a great deal towards a rape victim's recovery. There's no moral imperative to risk egregious error in doing so. Well, that's just silly. Everyone knows there's no such thing as a fake rape allegation. Oh, wait. That's right. Duke Lacrosse, Columbia's Mattress Girl, and the Rolling Stone fake rape case. in each of these instances, it either costs the university, the publication, or the accused themselves grief, years of grief, or thousands of dollars in damages. Not like that could have been avoided with maybe a beyond a reasonable doubt standard. Well, okay, so it seems like Bounds was right about everything he wrote. And he wrote this back in the 90s, so he was like 20 years ahead of his time. But it just appears that way, right? I'm sure there's this last criticism is going to be a deal breaker for any reasonable person, right? Bounds served as an opinion editor of the Stanford Review, and during his tenure, a feature of the opinion page, Smoke Signals, began using a crude caricature of a Native American figure, even though the university had discontinued using the Indians mascot more than 20 years earlier in response to complaints from Native American groups. Stanford University President Gerhard Casper and Provost Condoleezza Rice both criticized the review for using the image. Okay, so he wrote for an opinion page called Smoke Signals and used a caricature of a Native American. I mean, yeah, that's probably in poor taste, but really? This is kind of like, that might be the only criticism that actually is valid, and it's not really that big of a deal. So you might say, looking at all of this, why was his nomination blocked? As far as I could tell, he was telling the truth when he wrote it, and what he wrote is even more true now. But that wasn't good enough for Marco Rubio and Tim Scott. He had to go. And why did he have to go? Well, because he told the truth about race relations on college campuses. You can't be having that. They bent over for the SJWs and sided with the Democrats against a man who did nothing more than observe the truth about the direction college campuses in this country were going. And he lost his bid for the Ninth Circuit because of it. And given the Ninth Circuit is the most liberal circuit in the country, you don't think a conservative judge would have been good for that post? Apparently telling the truth doesn't get you anywhere in this day and age. We are the Republic's walls. They'll have to come and take it.